Mankind must put an end to war. A war will put an end to mankind.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Well, I'm not drunk. I learned everything I got.
Change will not come if we wait for somebody first.
All right, Jacob, what are we doing?
So Elliot
Yes, Jacob.
and Jacob, it's always a good idea to say your names in an episode, pro tip, are trying something new today. Heroin.
Again?
Again, yeah. No, we're trying a new show idea. We haven't named it or anything like that. We're just trying this. If you're watching this, if it ever sees the light of day, let us know what you think.
I think we can call it 2 redheads and 2 microphones. or not. And hot sauce.
You get to explain that one. I want to hear your explanation.
Okay. I mean, so I don't know if that's your actual start, but all right. So Jacob said that we're going to talk about politics. He's going to pick a topic. He's not going to tell me in advance, and then we're gonna go. So some of these might be a disaster. Some of them might be awesome. But we're not allowed to talk about Trump. When we talk about Trump, we have to replace his name with Ghost Pepper Hot Sauce.
And what happens if you don't?
And then if you don't, then Jacob has to take a drink.
Whoa. A drink of what?
You gotta down this shot of hot sauce.
So let's talk about this. Do you know what our topic is today?
You said that our topic was going to be the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Supreme Court of the United States.
No, actually.
Interesting.
I don't know what countries have Supreme Courts. Otherwise, I would have named one.
Well, we have a Supreme Court in Wisconsin.
We do. Usually, most states do.
Yeah. But I don't have really much to say about that.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Other than I don't think it really should be an elected position because it's weird.
Okay, I guess we're moving into the justice system in general now. That's the fun thing of this. I think elected judges are one of the stupidest things to ever exist.
Awkward.
It's awkward. It's bad.
Political no matter what you do, but like that's especially political and just weird.
In the one area, I think we pretty much unanimously agree should not be political.
No, because all they're going to do is say, I'm tough on crime, I'm tough on crime, I'm tough on crime. And that is not a good thing necessarily.
No, it's not a good place to be in. And plus, it makes it so judges might have to make decisions they normally otherwise wouldn't do.
Absolutely.
Out of fear of losing their job.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No.
Now, luckily, the Supreme Court is not an elected position.
Right.
Kind of. I mean, technically, it's not. It's like a step removed from being one because we're electing the people who choose.
Yeah. The only way that I think it kind of crosses into the political realm is when justices strategically retire.
Like
there's been talk about Kennedy strategically retiring because he's in cahoots with Trump. Most of that.
Hey, what did you say there? Don't say that word.
Cahoots.
All right.
Ghost pepper hot sauce. Okay, you know what? I think it's unavoidable to mention the president if we're talking about the Supreme Court the day after
his nomination.
Ghost pepper hot sauce nominated. Now you can maybe forget the name of the guy that he nominated.
I have it in my
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Kavanaugh.
He coaches basketball for his daughters, I think, and they call him Coach K, which got a laugh during his acceptance speech.
Let's talk about Kavanaugh
because Kavanaugh's with a C, by the way, so it should be Coach C. But anyway,
so Kavanaugh has been around in the political sphere and also in the judicial system for a long time. Yep. He was on the Court of Appeals for D.C.
Yep.
Which is, as I learned in my research last night
I did zero research.
2:00 in the morning. Yeah, because I didn't tell you the topic.
Right.
At 2:00 in the morning, I learned is generally considered to be the second most important court in the United States. So I guess it's like the junior varsity team,
Well, so I did watch the acceptance speech and like the whatever I don't know what they exactly call it, but like the
formalities.
Yeah, the official nomination. But I think that Ghost Pepper Hot Sauce
We should stop this.
mentioned it was your idea. I don't know why it had to be a thing, but I'm with you on not blaming Ghost Pepper Hot Sauce about everything, all the ills of our world. But anyway, so it was the president mentioned that Kavanaugh had several rulings that have become precedent for the Supreme Court and for all courts.
Yeah.
So you're right about that being more junior varsity, but like the way courts are, it's
all on precedent and
well, yeah. So there's precedent all the time. So there's like it's sort of like interwoven. It's not any judge can make a ruling that could become
Right.
precedent, right?
yeah, for sure. And so when he was on that court, he was largely placed into, because my understanding is the way they do it is, typically at the Court of Appeals level, you have 3 judges for a verdict on something.
Yeah.
And for years, he was in that 3-person court with Merrick Garland. So that's kind of a fun fact, So his reputation is good.
Yeah. That's why he was probably the front runner. I mean, I don't really know, like, behind the scenes exactly how those things shake out. It's a little weird that they seem to announce the ones that are kind of in the running. I don't know exactly where that information comes from, if that's just conjecture or if that's...
It would be nice if it was for public feedback, but
Yeah.
probably not.
See, we should be talking about the other thing that happened last night.
Which other thing? All the kids in, not to date this, but all the kids in Thailand getting freed from their cave.
I know I'm supposed to care more about that, but like things happen to kids all over the world all the time. I'm not exactly sure why that got so much attention, but no, I was talking about the referendum thing, the Brown County referendum.
Oh, see, I'm like, I have no idea what we're talking about. Then you're like, oh, it's a thing to write here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that is something that I was thinking that was going to be your topic today, but that's fine.
Oh, you don't know how this brain works?
I know a little too well how your brain works, and that's what scares me. So anyway, I got off topic.
Yeah. One thing I did in my research was I looked, and it felt very strange doing this, but I went to some of the typical sites that are painted as being pretty left-leaning, and some of the sites that are painted as being pretty right-leaning, and looked at how each side was reacting to the nomination. And both thought it was a pretty good choice.
Which means it's a disaster.
Is that how it works?
To me it does, because, okay, so what are the things that the two parties agree on, right? So the two parties generally agree on the surveillance state, like you were just mentioning about the the UK and their surveillance state. This guy, we don't know exactly how things will pan out. Once you're on the Supreme Court, you kind of have some freedom that you didn't have before, and so sometimes justices they shift, right? And that's hopefully he shifts more towards the Constitution, like he claimed to be a strict constitutionalist.
Yes,
the Constitution pretty much precludes the U.S. Congress from the surveillance state.
I don't know, but the Constitution is almost like the Bible. You can make it say whatever you want it to.
No, it's written in pretty plain language. It hasn't ever been translated.
But you've seen some of the rhetoric thrown out trying to justify things.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
It was written in very plain English. Congress shall pass no law. This is how most of our Bill of Rights is written. Pretty straightforward. It's really not that complicated.
So one thing...
Congress shall pass no law, yada, yada, yada.
One thing I find interesting is Kavanaugh himself. He is definitely conservative.
Yeah.
Right? You would agree with that?
Yep.
However, he's very vocal about being nonpartisan.
Well, and everybody says they're nonpartisan, right?
No.
Most people say they're nonpartisan. They want to reach across the aisle as long as the other aisle agrees with them and not the other way around.
Okay, but saying and doing are different things. Yeah. And he's actually got a pretty decent track record.
Well, because he's a judge. That should be relatively apolitical,
I think it's very similar to how people saw Anthony Kennedy.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fair fit. Also, did you know that he was a clerk for Anthony Kennedy?
During the nomination thing, yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for an easy, smooth nomination, I think that probably makes sense. It's like, okay, Kennedy thought this guy was good. We're replacing Kennedy. This guy has a good track record. It seems to make sense. The problem I have is when I look at the fundamental problems of the United States and the ways that the court can interact with that, the abortion thing, I think, is getting a little too much attention because I really, truly do not think that they're going to take that on in some fashion and have it happen, right?
Well, see, part of the...
What does that even mean if they do?
Here's something interesting about that is just because of how our Supreme Court was designed, it was designed to be this separate entity.
Yeah.
So once you're elected, you're not leaving, so you can make the right decision.
Right.
Whatever that might be.
Well, and usually the right decision is to leave things alone unless they are a drastic problem, right? And
right. I mean, the Supreme Court handles what, like 80 cases a year?
Well, as many as they want.
Yeah. As few as they want. They could just say, hey, we're never working again. Time to vacation.
Right, but they don't want to. I mean, they want to take on the important things. So when I think about the other important things in our country, well, what do we need? We need some criminal justice reform. It's racist. It's sexist. It cracks down on. I was listening to the people talk at the county committee about the cannabis referendum, right? And they were mentioning the arrest stats for marijuana versus even other drugs, and it's like it's ridiculous.
It is.
I don't know how accurate the stats are, but even if they're on the same playing field, right? Even if they're close, like it's crazy. So we need some of those things to be fixed, right? So I'm not entirely uncomfortable if the abortion thing, people are freaked out about that. I think the abortion thing should stay the way it is. It's fine. We decided it 40 years ago. Move on. Because otherwise it's just going to move to the states. And so half the states are going to pick one way and half are going to pick the other. And then what? You're just going to people are going to cross state lines. Like it just becomes silly, right? And the impact is what? You're not saving any unborn children's lives. In fact, you're just making things worse.
Yeah. I like messing with you sometimes.
Yeah.
And I also like, putting your knowledge to the test. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I have here on me a list of all of our Supreme Court justices.
I can't name them all.
How many can you name?
I'm not going to do that.
I'm sorry, did you just say they change? It's the one position that's known for not changing.
I feel like we've had a little more turnover the last, okay, you know what?
I will agree with that.
I don't even know if that's true. So you know how time seems to speed up the older you get?
No, I'm 21, 22.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
you've heard your elders talk about how time.
My elders.
So it could be that I'm just perceiving it that way. But
no, I mean there's a fair number of what is it? George Bush got one replacement.
I don't know.
Barack Obama got one.
At least two.
Yeah, I mean we've got a pretty decent number. We're in this weird middle ground where half of them are still pretty young. And then we've got the other half who are getting quite old. Ruth Gator.
More. I think we've turned over enough that I think Kennedy's moving on.
Yep.
Scalia died. And then, what do they call her? Ruth Gator, RGB. Like, there's people that have like.
I always struggle pronouncing her name. I'll give you the point for naming her, though. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah.
Yeah. So RBG. I said RGB because I'm a nerd.
So who else is on the list?
So let's see. We have Kagan.
Yes. Who is one of the more recent, the second newest, I believe. Gorsuch, who is the newest, who seems to be a pretty okay guy.
Thomas.
Yes.
I'm flipping all over the place.
That's okay.
I don't have I wasn't expecting this.
No, you weren't. That's the point.
Let's see. I can't even picture them all.
What's I'm saying though is you're probably getting more than most people.
I feel like I should be able to name all of them. So who did I miss?
Let's see. Chief Justice John Roberts.
Chief Justice. Yeah, I should have got that.
Stephen. I'm not sure. Bayer,
Yeah, Bear.
Samuel Alito,
Yeah.
and Sonia Sotomayor. Soto.
I think I said it wrong too now.
Sorry if you're watching this. Did we mispronounce your name?
Is that the whole list?
Oh yeah, that's the list.
Yeah.
Minus the ones you already said.
Yeah, right.
So I don't like doing what ifs very often, but I'm gonna entertain a what if right now.
Good.
So what happens if theoretically in the next couple months there is a theoretical blue wave
Yep.
and Democrats take control of the Senate and maybe the House? Let's say theoretically that happens. And then one of the justices on the Supreme Court retires or passes away. What happens then?
So let's see. So who would be most likely there? So
what I'm asking though is,
okay.
Will the precedent of what happened to Merrick Garland
I know.
be repeated?
Yeah. I mean, this is the danger that the two parties get themselves into, isn't it? Where they say, well, we think we should wait until we know we're going to have an advantage. Well, you know what goes around comes around. So
you agree that was horrible.
Terrible.
That situation.
I said so at the time.
Absolutely.
That's not your job. Sorry, you lost last time. That's not your job.
No, that was dirty politics, and it's really scary because it sets a precedent.
I never agree with that. Like, do your job. Like, that's not the way things are supposed to be. You know that.
And here's the thing about that.
Yeah.
It was unavoidable because of the current situation. Because of how it's controlled and because the people at the head of the party decided that's...
I think they could have avoided.
I think there was one way it could have been avoided. And I couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
You couldn't do anything about it. Maybe.
Do something about it.
I think there's only one way. I think there are these fundamental things we agree should not be allowed, that are wrong and dangerous for our government. The one thing that should have happened, and maybe this is a pipe dream, I think Republicans needed to be the ones to say that's not okay. I think you need to be able to call penalties on your own team.
Oh, they should be doing that all the time.
And that's not just dogging on Republicans. If Democrats did that, I'd say
honestly,
Democrats need to stop.
Like, you have to think, like, if you do the right thing for the right reasons, how is that going to come back to haunt you? You're going to have what? So, I just try to, paint a worst case scenario. So, like, let's say, I don't know, I'll say Paul Ryan, just because he's leaving and no harm, no foul. So, he holds the line, says, I'm gonna stick up for this, for the right thing to do, and I'm gonna say no, we should vote, right? We should approve or disapprove, thumbs up, thumbs down. We should take a vote. Like, this should happen. What happens if he says that? So somebody else is going to campaign against him on the Republican side and say, no, you're not loyal enough to the Republicans. Like, that is so easy to defend when you do the right things for the right reasons. It's when you do the political thing, you just look like a terrible person. And it's this two-party, like, constant, I don't know. I hate, like, making it sound like it's a good thing, but it's like the Super Bowl. It's like these two teams make it to the top, and they're the only things that matter now. And they're just filled with bad actors.
So you mentioned Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
And we're going off on another tangent. That's okay. That's how this is working. That's how we work. We're tangent people, right?
You know what? It's terrible if you have a show and you're expecting listeners to follow along.
Yeah. Paul Ryan, we're in a special situation because Paul Ryan, for the past couple years, has absolutely been the image of our state for the country as a whole, and probably even the rest of the world.
I don't think you're right about that.
Really?
No, I don't. I don't think that if you said who would represent, like, if you just took a cross section of 50 people across the 50 states and said, name someone that you feel represents the ideals of Wisconsin, I would say half of them would say Aaron Rodgers.
But you understand what I'm saying. He is,
Very few people would say Paul Ryan.
Really?
For one thing,
I disagree with
you. So there are some people that are kind of clocked out. Like, I guess either like really partisan, but like not really engaged in the system, some really partisan left wing or right wing people may feel the way you feel, but or the way that you think this is portrayed. They may say, yeah, he represents Wisconsin, but most people understand we're a purple state, totally purple.
We are.
I think we're the most purple state, and we're in the most purple city.
In the most purple state. You are absolutely right.
I really truly believe that.
I mean, and the data does generally show it.
Why does every presidential candidate come to our little tiny speck of a town to campaign? It's because flipping 10,000 votes here can matter immensely.
So back to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, sorry.
Whatever we were talking about before. That was our topic today, right?
Yeah.
Do you worry about how partisan, not necessarily the court is, but how it's represented? Because whenever there's a new nomination or even speculation on one, it's, well, this person's very conservative, this person's very liberal. It's never this person's the right person for the job.
It's always about abortion, which blows my mind. I don't understand. You can have your own personal viewpoints. This is America. Things are legal, period. It doesn't matter what you can. I hate to ever say I agree with Bill Clinton, but he said, and I don't even think this was original, but he cribbed it from somebody else. Safe, legal, rare. That's what abortion should be. We should all be working to make sure abortion doesn't happen. But what happens if you make it illegal? What does that actually look like in practice? It's like making marijuana illegal. What happens in practice? Well, it's a disaster. It's a criminal justice disaster. So, or a prohibition on alcohol, right? It was a disaster. We see that. So we are America. We demand freedom. And even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, it's easy to have freedom when it's comfortable, right?
Yeah.
So do I think it's over political? Was that your question?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's represented to the public as being over at the very least.
You know what? So it depends on who the nominee is, right? I think some nominees are particularly polarizing. Usually, the first one from a president, right? Because I think that there's a few reasons for that, right? Like that president is trying to push the boundaries a little bit, see how much they can maybe get away with, see how the system works for them. But generally speaking, I feel like Supreme Court nominations have been surprisingly simple over the last 20 years.
I'd agree. There were plenty of jokes.
Clarence Thomas, he was that was the last one that was actually a problem. Other than I forget the name of the one that George W. Bush nominated that she just got tossed out right away.
Yeah. That was something I thought interesting. My question is, just in my thought, when our current president became president, there was plenty of jokes that his first Supreme Court justice nomination would be like meatloaf or something like that.
Crazy.
No, they're simple, safe answers, but also there's no way he personally picked who he's nominating. And I'm not saying that just because it's him. I don't think, for the most part, any presidents do. They rely on their advisors or, the people who specifically know the justice system. So my question is, who made the choice for this one?
Yeah.
And we will probably never, ever have that answer.
So I have a theory that it was Pence. And the reason I say that is because Pence seemed a little too excited about it. And that's the part that makes me uncomfortable, because everything about Pence, how do I say this? Everything I dislike about Republicans, Pence represents very much so. Pence and Sessions, terrible.
I think that's really fair.
He would be gung-ho about a surveillance state, gung-ho about unnecessary laissez-faire corporate things. That
when it comes to, I don't know if this is a both side thing, but for me as someone who is very liberal, and I watch tons of liberal news stuff, or talk shows, all that kind of stuff. And if you ask someone on that side, what's the first thing you think of when you think of Mike Pence? It's the gay stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that he has a boyfriend on the side. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What?
That's the cliche, right? Like the Republicans that are
Oh, yeah.
vehement, they end up
because
they have their own tendencies.
There are plenty of cases of that.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I mean,
now we're not saying that specifically for Mike Pence, you know.
oh, I believe that 100%.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep this like crazy.
He's terrible. So as bad as you think Trump,
Alex Jonesy,
as bad as you
conspiracy
think Trump
theory,
is Ghost Pepper or whatever, as bad as you think he is, Pence is terrible.
Oh, I agree.
Like, I don't agree with him on almost anything that I would agree with any Republican on.
And you've voted Republican many times, right?
I've supported Republicans. I have most of my like political friends are Republicans. They think I'm one of them, and I'm like, I don't know. You guys are off the deep end now. Everything is about abortion right now. I'm like, you got to stop. That's such a small issue.
I have family who lives in Indiana, and pretty unanimously agreed he was a terrible governor.
So there were some things that he did that were okay in Indiana. So like lowering lowering some of the regulations, like streamlining, lowering regulations has like a bad connotation to people on the other side, right? But it should be about streamlining. So you can still have some oversight, but things need to be streamlined. You have to make it easier.
Get rid of some of the bureaucracy.
Well, you need to make it easier to follow the rules than to not follow.
I mean, look at our taxes. Whoa.
Yeah. So taxes is a great example of how it's done wrong. Immigration is a perfect example of how it's done wrong. We do this all the time, right? It's easier to break the law.
It is literally the stereotype of our government.
Yeah. Which is like 1980s era Soviet Russia. Like it's easier to break the law than to follow the law. So like I could be arrested at any time. Like that is not how you want to. This is not how we should live in a free society.
Well, do you have any final thoughts on Supreme Court specifically, and not another tangent?
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like that is a tangent because like the biggest thing that I'm scared of with this Kavanaugh guy, and I did not research this, but just the little blips I've heard is that in terms of freedom, in terms of the surveillance state. He's a terrible choice.
Well,
that is something that Democrats and Republicans they're fine with. They're like, no, we should totally be surveilling our own citizens.
I'm not
sure. We agree on that.
I honestly have no idea where he stands or what his record is on surveillance stuff. I didn't hit that in my research.
So I don't know specifically what these particular, it all just kind of came to a head last night. But my understanding is that he is not going to be really pro criminal justice reform. The biggest problems we have, he's not going to fix any of them. Marijuana legalization, none of these things are going to change. Like this is not a guy who's going to tilt.
Not to be a Debbie Downer on the end of our episode, but like, can they change? Is it physically possible for us to change some of these issues? Or are we so routed into our ways and it's so difficult for us to change things that?
Yeah, so there are some tough things like the abortion thing. We're never going to agree on it. So like, I don't know why people want to argue about it. Just leave it alone. It's done. You don't get an abortion. You don't want it. Don't get one. You don't want your kids to get abortions. Don't let them. Right. So these other issues, marijuana, it's going to like
that's the one thing that's changed.
Like, I saw you watch some of Wendy's video last night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like that blows my mind. So you don't even want to have a referendum that is completely meaningless other than saying that people like it. So just having an official stamp on citizens actually having a voice, you're just against that for no apparent reason at all. That's terrible. So can we change things? Boy, we have to really change some of these, like the old guard. These people that are just detest freedom so much. I think things kind of, they go back and forth, and 9/11 really disrupted the trend towards freedom. I understand that. And I understand fear drives, the surveillance state, but can it change? Yeah, it can change, and it takes young people taking their country back, though.
So, yeah, we're trying.
No, I mean actually,
when we can vote.
You're already old.
Oh, I'm over the hill already.
Yeah.
Once you pass 6 years old, you're just done.
No, I'm talking about
the cynicalism and jadedness of life.
About the
once you're 7, you're just like this.
You're a millennial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the people that come after
The Gen Zs.
whatever they're called.
Whatever.
Whatever.
I had a 6-hour debate with someone discussion talking about generation labels and like where the cutoff point is.
It's arbitrary, but
Well, I actually think my final thought, we're way off on a tangent. That's okay. My final thought is there is a distinct point that separates a millennial from a Gen Z, kids these days, whatever you call them. And it's simple. It's a one question thing. Do you actually remember 9/11?
Oh.
That's the cutoff.
Yeah. Okay.
Done.
I guess maybe it's similar, but like you could say, like, have you ever not had an iPhone?
Well, I've never. There are plenty of kids who have never had an iPhone.
I mean, so there are down on their luck kids that need some public assistance.
Are you supporting a government-sponsored subsidization of iPhones for children? Wow, you crazy liberal.
I know, right? Yeah.
All right. Do you have any final thoughts for the people who sat through this with, an open mouth?
I hope to God you're going to edit this down somehow.
No, that takes work.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys thought of this.
Yeah. So my quick feedback. I think it's fun to spring things on me, but I guess if you're my sparring partner, I would like it to be a fair playing field. So I'd like somebody else to pick the topic.
Oh.
And you to also not know.
Oh. Maybe we'll try that.
So I think that would. But also.
Our producer in the background's giggling.
But on the other hand, I think I would appreciate at least 30 minutes to look some things up so that I could not be embarrassed being able to name the Supreme Court justices.
I just wanted to embarrass you a little.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's fine.
To be fair, I probably could have gotten about the same number.
So like I'm going to blame Hunger Brain on that.
Okay. All right. Well,
thanks for this. I think it was good.
Yeah.
I think it was good. Hopefully people like it, and I hope to do this again.
Yeah. You want to just say goodbye?
No. I don't. You know what? I don't like saying goodbye.
Oh, no.
I like saying till we meet again.
See you next time.
Talk to you soon. Love you.